Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. I'm James, an everyday cook, and today we are making risotto balls. Come cook with me. Okay, so for these risotto balls, their official name is Arancini balls, which are basically fried rice balls. It's an Italian dish. I've been making this 10 years now, but I call them risotto balls, but you can use any kind of rice you want. I've done it with sushi rice. I've done it with aboro rice, which you make risotto with. I've done it with jasmine rice, but you really kind of want a sticky rice because there's no kind of binder to this. I don't add any eggs. And this rice I cooked last night. Very, very sticky. About 20 minutes, 2 cups water, 1 cup rice, no butter. And then that's our rice that we have. But before we kind of put together our balls and start to fry them, I had a rotisserie chicken last week and did not use all of it. And I knew I was going to make this recipe, so I put it in the freezer. So I have a chicken breast. And then if you don't like white meat, you can use dark meat. But I think 1 chicken breast is going to do it. So I'll save that for another time or for lunch later. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to chop this up pretty finely. And again, remember when we're using our knife, we're using a rocking motion like a boat, and then we're holding our fingers kind of back so we don't cut ourselves. So we will just chop this up pretty fine. And this is a great recipe because when I originally started making these, I made them as like a dinner portion. So they were like this big and put them like in a big bowl of sauce, and it was like a perfect dinner option. But you can make these small, like this size, for like little appetizers, even like a little bit bigger. But for these, I am doing chicken. It would be really nice in this, some like crisped up bacon or prosciutto would be really nice. So let's chop up this chicken. Might not even need this whole chicken breast, but hey, mascot Maggie. Maggie has come for a little bit. Chicken, there you go. She's our taste tester for the stuff she can't have. Yeah. All right. And I kind of put my fingers down the knife to control a little bit better and kind of chop it up just a little bit. All right. And remember our trusty bench scraper. You remember we don't want to use our knife to pick up ingredients just in case, you cut yourself. This is a little bit safer. Plus it doesn't dull your knife. So we're going to move all this to the side while we get our other ingredients together. So I have our rice. I have some mushrooms I sauteed earlier this morning that are cooled down. I'm actually going to chop these up just a little bit, just so they're kind of like same size. They don't have to be super small, but trying to roll these rice balls, some ingredients are too big, it kind of breaks apart the ball. All right, so a little rough chop on that. Move those to the side. Actually, there's a chunk I missed, so we'll go back in there. It happens because we're everyday cooks, right? We're everyday cooks, making some risotto balls. Okay, so then we're going to put together these balls pretty quick, right? Just a couple prep items, mushrooms, some chicken. You can cook the chicken breast yourself or whatever meat you have. Again, I cooked the rice last night, so then it had time to kind of like set up and, it's not hot, so we can handle it a little bit better. So I have my bowl over here. And then, so we're going to put our rice in. And the great thing about this, if you don't use all this, you can roll these into balls and freeze them. When I made this last week, I have some in the freezer already. So they're always nice if you're having a party and you're like, oh, I don't have anything. Quick little appetizer. Okay, so put in our balls, our mushrooms to our rice. And then I'm actually going to use about half this chicken. I'm going to put this in our bowl so we can save it for later. Probably give it to Mags. She's been a good girl. And then I'm going to add about half cup cheese to that. And this rice is actually pre-salted. I did salt the water. So I'm not going to add any salt because the mushrooms have a little bit of salt. Chicken I salted. And so I'm just going to add black pepper, which I love black pepper. About a teaspoon of that. And then we're just going to mix this together. Your hands do get a little dirty with this one. It's kind of worth it in the end. All right, so now it's all mixed together. This to the side. I'm going to use one of my favorite kitchen gadgets, ice cream scoop. I use these for biscuits, I use them for cupcakes, I use them for these risotto balls. So what you're going to do is you're really going to pack down these rice balls. And since the rice is so sticky, you have a couple mushrooms that are going to escape or pieces of chicken, which is fine. Because we're going to roll these, dredge them in flour, egg, and panko for a crispy crust. So look how pretty those are. And they don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be perfect balls. You're not looking for perfection. But again, you really want to pack down these so the starches from the rice kind of make everything stick together. And I kind of move them around with my hands. And at some point, you will need to wash your hands because there's going to be so much starch on your fingers, it's going to start to pull the balls apart. So after about every 4 or 5 balls, you will have to kind of rinse off your hands, which is fine. All right, smells really good. This is going to be such a great lunch. Again, I've been making a couple recipes because my best friends are coming into town. And when I lived with them, this is one of their favorites. So when I said, when are you coming down? What do you want me to make? And this was one of their top requests. And as you can see, you get a bite of the mushroom and the chicken and the cheese. And actually the cheese, when these get fried in the hot, are gooey when you break them apart. It's so good. Pop the saltiness. And you can actually bread these before you freeze them, or you can do them frozen and then just pop them in the fryer or air fryer. I need to get an air fryer. I heard they're pretty cool. And at the end of this recipe, I'll show you a little shortcut I do to finish these off. Because again, not everything has to be made from scratch. I don't make everything from scratch. Even coming from professional kitchens, now being an everyday home cook, I do not make everything from scratch because it's just not practical. There's actually a little bit left. I'm actually going to use that as a test ball just to make sure my fryer's at the right oil. And then also to, once it's fried, I can taste it to make sure everything's good. I mean, at that point, the ball is already made, so if you didn't season it right, whoops. But we all live and learn, right? So now we have our dredge station, which is just flour, egg, and panko breadcrumbs. So with dredging, you want to kind of season all of your stations. Not heavily, but just salt, pepper, just so every layer has some kind of flavor. So about a ½ teaspoon of each, and then pepper. Pepper in there, pepper in there, pepper in there. All right, so let's whisk up our eggs. And again, we just use a fork. You don't need a whisk. I don't add any water to this. All right, and then just use your fingers to move that salt and flour and pepper around, and then the same for the panko. All right. And then I'm just using a plate for these. I'm actually going to spray it so it doesn't stick. But you know what? You get to cook with me, and that's the most important part. Okay. So what we're going to do is whenever you're battering anything, whether it be mozzarella sticks, these, whenever you have wet and dry ingredients, one hand stays in the dry ingredients, one hand stays wet. So my right hand is going to be the dry ingredients. My left is going to be the wet. And then my right hand is going to be the dry. So that prevents like extra moisture in your dry ingredients, prevents like clumping on your fingers where you look like a monster. I don't know. A dredge monster. So we will continue to do this. Look how simple this is. Didn't take, 1, 2, 3, 4 ingredients for a delicious little bite-sized little baby. And usually I will fry these right after I, go through this process, but my friends aren't going to be here for a couple hours, so I'm actually going to freeze these until they get here. That's in a couple hours, so you can put these in the refrigerator if you want, or in the freezer. Doesn't matter. But I will continue to dredge these, and then we will get to frying. So our risotto balls have been in the freezer for about 2 hours, kind of setting up. Again, you can dredge these and fry them immediately, but I just was waiting for my best friends to come so we could have some lunch together. So I have some oil already ready at 350 degrees. I've dropped a couple of these in. So let's get these fried so we can eat them in a couple minutes. And again, you don't want to crowd the pan. So I'm going to do about 4 at a time. Okay, so our risotto balls have been frying. I have a few of them done while the rest are continuing to fry. Look how delicious those look, golden brown. And then I also have a sauce. It's just a jarred sauce I kind of zhuzhed up with some onion and some basil. And we'll kind of plate this. Doesn't have to be fancy because we're everyday cooks. But look how nice that looks. That bright red. Yum. Kind of slather that on a little platter. And then we'll put some of our little risotto balls on there. Everything looks good in odd numbers, so we'll do 5. Spread those around. And then, remember our favorite little tool, kitchen tool, our microplane for the Parmesan cheese. Look at that. Doesn't it look so nice? Awesome. Let's go ahead and try one. Have a little plate. Remember I made a little baby one to try, so that's perfect. Look at that. So crispy, cheesy, chicken mushroom. My best friends have loved these, and you are too. Thank you for coming to cook with me. See you next time.